Oxford, taken the stuff and hidden them in the loft of her house.
So this is preventing the
publication.
source material getting to the printer?
Well, all the illustrations, all the text,
Right.
and the DVD of the
Right.
text.
And there was another case where
So they then shut the crew office, sacked everybody, and
Right.
opened the office up in Oxford.
Right.
Fairly quietly, actually. So the third book then we did, which would be Discovery of the Ark. That went to Oxford, and that went through reasonably well, right? But the fourth book, they discovered again that we moved, we shifted our focus, and it got lost. It got mixed up with another book,
Right.
and there were two books entangled. Then they couldn't find it anywhere. Then it was out in Victoria, then it wasn't. So I got the Thames Valley Police on it. Well, they said, we can't do a lot, really, if it's out in Canada, whatever, but they said, we'll do what we can. We've got a few friends out there. I said, do you get the FBI? They said, well, we'll see what we do. Well, we tracked it from Victoria in Canada to Oregon, and from Oregon down to Bloomington, Ohio, Indiana. And we finally got it printed anyway.
Now, tell me about the holiday in Malaga in 2004, Alan.
Weird. We had a habit of taking winter breaks. It's cheaper and we don't socialise that much, Got someone to look after the house. And we went out to Malaga. Well, first thing we found, we didn't go into the hotel we were supposed to go to. We were going to a different hotel. They'd been switched. And it wasn't worrying us.
The first thing was we found that we were informed that we weren't going to a 3-star hotel, we were going to go to a 5-star hotel. I didn't like that. I don't believe in gifts, Greek-sparing gifts.
There's one of these hotels with an office centre and a sort of centre for the meals and the entertainments, and then streets of little cottages, often 3 to join together or 2 join together, whatever, right? And we were in this little street of cottages. Right, the hotel was about a quarter full, but we were on a cottage right on the outside,
Right.
Didn't worry us so much. And behind our cottage was a lane going like that, the car park, and it curved down and down to the beach. But you couldn't get out to our cottage street, but the next door one you could had a window to go open it. But our windows were that way.
We were manoeuvring into this chalet. It's a chalet outside the hotel because it said the hotel was full, which wasn't true because it was about 17 vacant rooms. I checked it out.
I noticed there was a guy in the bar in front of me, biggish man, as tall as you, but make you look like skinny, big.
Very large man, must have been about 18 stone, made me feel like a shrimp.
He was whacking big guy. And he had a Welsh accent.
He was obviously very, very fit, like at least a rugby player.
And I thought, Swansea Valley, something like that, So he didn't say, so I spoke to him one evening, how are you going? And he spoke, but he obviously didn't, not usual Welsh reaction, he didn't want to be friends at all.
He was a Swansea accent. And I also recognised the man from BBC Wales.
Well, I noticed another guy around and I said, yeah, go over there, grey-haired guy with a woman. I said, he works at the bloody BBC in Cardiff, doesn't he? He said, yeah, he does. Definitely,
With a sort of a wispy beard, much thinner man, smaller man. And he was playing the romantic with a woman who wasn't his affair, although I checked that out subsequently.
So when we were there, you'd be in the social evening and that. Him and his wife were there, him and his wife were there. They didn't know each other.
Right, yeah.
So one day I see this guy coming out of this chalet cottage. Him and his wife, the big guy, was right next door to us.
Right.
About 50, 60 of these things. There's only 2 occupied, us and him right next door.
Right.
Anyway, and I said, I just had that feeling, so I just walked quietly behind him, you see. He goes round now, and he went round the other side of the building. And who's he talking to but the one he doesn't know from the BBC?
Right.
So we're putting 2 and 2 together now. And I said, hey, there's something wrong here.
And then they were pretending not to know each other. The military man from Swansea had a woman with him, which may have been his missus or his girlfriend or whatever. And they were pretending not to meet each other. And I met them, we caught them having private meetings just outside the hotel bar. So I thought this is most peculiar.
So it felt like a setup because they weren't showing
Hey, we're going
they
to
knew
the
each other
hotel.
when they were in the bar. They were
That's right.
pretending to be strangers,
All in
and
the
then they're talking to each
cafeteria,
other.
but they talk to each other around the corner, like quietly, about 3 in the afternoon.
Right.
So I told him. So I got a knife out of the cafeteria in my pocket to get
Right.
I'm not stupid.
Yeah.
Furthermore, you had a set of inadequate golf clubs, and I noticed a cattle prod among the golf clubs. I said, this is most peculiar, I thought.
Because this guy had a golf bag with him, and he had 5 or 6 totally different clubs, all different sites. And
Right.
the other one was a kiddies club, a 10-year-old to use. And I said, which course are you going to play then? And one day at the door, oh, he said, I'll try all of them. I said, where you been yesterday? Oh, I forget the name. He
Right.
hadn't been anywhere. His golf bag was a joke, you know.
So the golf thing was a cover,
Well,
possibly.
Well, if he was playing golf, he'd be like Tom and Jerry.
You'd know the name of the course.
Hey?
You'd know the name of the course.
And his wife was a big, lumpy, tough character. She was no lady, I tell you that.
One night in particular, it was a Saturday night again, we went out to the Marbella town. I'm almost sure it's Marbella. So this is one in detail in my diaries.
Yeah.
Going back to 2004. I went to Marbella, went whining and had a meal and whining and went back for a wine and went with a few drinks. We got slightly drunk, not too drunk. And we got a taxi back. Got to ride back at approximately 1 o'clock in the morning.
A sort of a wideish doorway, and there's these big old Spanish thick doors on these chalets. And there was a chair there, like a throne. I mean, the timber of it was like 3 inches by 3 inches.
Yeah.
You know, it was
Okay.
really solid, bloody thing. Whacking big chair. So as you went through the doorway was wide, and it then went inwards like that. So the doorway's there, and that's to let the door come, I think, and then the wall's like that. So he took the chair and he put it here against the wall at an angle against the door at night.
Yeah. You just smelt a rat and you thought someone was maybe going to break into the room or to do something, so you barricaded the door with a big, heavy chair,
A
basically.
big, heavy Spanish chair, and one of these old style ones, about 3 inches in diameter. Around it's an ancient technique. The heavy chair was jammed between an alcove in the vestibule passageway, like a breeze block alcove, and jammed tightly against the door by 2 legs in approximately 3 inches diameter. So nobody could get in.
No, an elephant couldn't get through there. And that's because you can't break timber that thick that way. You break it that way perhaps, but you won't break it that way. I don't know, early hours of the morning, there was a hell of a bang.
Right.
And the room shook. I'm, huh? You
Right.
know, I'm awake.
Okay.
The whole villa shook, literally shook as if you were shaking a budgie cage, shake.
I would have better got a knife. And there was another bump.
So you must have really suspected something not right if you're going to barricade your door. It's not something
That's
people
right.
normally do, is
That's
it?
right.
Right.
That's right. You got that.
So
You got that.
And then a few minutes later, I must admit I had a few drinks, and what the hell is going on? I think the mattress was put against it, and another go. There was another bump.
So you suspected this noise was coming from your actual door.
It was definitely from the
making
door.
the building shake.
Absolutely. Anyway, the door, nobody could get in, and I said to Alan, our safety is in here, not going outside like fools.
Right.
So we remained
So
there
there was
till the next
another
morning.
bang.
Yeah, the next morning there was another bang. So we went out the next morning, and the door had paint flakes on the concrete step.
Right.
You can see the paint flakes had been the first force. It was slight indentation,
Okay.
and the lock was forcibly maybe about 3 millimeters out of the.
Right.
And I noticed up around the corner, you went on the corner, you were out of sight of the office entrance, the administrative block, right? You came down this wide path there, road, and the car park was that way, like an L. And this lane went into it like that, around the corner. So you were out of sight. And there was a van parked there a couple of nights, which you couldn't quite see from the office, and you wouldn't see it from the lane.
We had been killed in an out.
Had taken the stuff and hidden them in the loft of her house.
So this is preventing
Preventing
the
publication.
source material getting to the printer.
Well, all the illustrations, all the text,
Right.
and the DVD of the
Right.
text. And
And there was another case where
so they then shut the crew office, sacked everybody, and opened the office up in Oxford,
Right.
but fairly quietly actually. So the third book then we did, which would be Discovery of the Ark. That went to Oxford, and that went through reasonably well, right? But the fourth book, they discovered again, and we moved, we shifted our focus, and well, it got lost. It got mixed up with another book,
Right.
and there were two books entangled. Then they couldn't find it anywhere. Then it was out in Victoria, then it wasn't. So I got the Thames Valley Police on it. Well, they said, we can't do a lot, really, if it's out in Canada, whatever, but they said, we'll do what we can. We got a few friends out there. I said, do you get the FBI? They said, well, we'll see what we do. Well, we tracked it from Victoria in Canada to Oregon, and from Oregon down to Bloomington, Ohio, Indiana. And we finally got it printed anyway.
Now, tell me about the holiday in Malaga in 2004, Alan.
Weird. We had a habit of taking winter breaks. A, it's cheaper, and we'd often taken the stuff and hidden them in the loft of her house.
So this is preventing the
publication.
source material getting to the printer.
Well, all the illustrations, all the text,
Right.
and the DVD of the text.
And there was another case where
so they then shut the crew office, sacked everybody, and opened the office up in Oxford,
Right.
but fairly quietly actually. So the third book then we did, which would be Discovery of the Ark. That went to Oxford, and that went through reasonably well, right? But the fourth book,